Hi everyone. Would you believe it's already that time of the month where it's time to talk about the month ahead? Because tomorrow night, Sunday, marks the beginning of the month of Cancer. You know, of course, astrologically, we measure months approximately from the 21st, 22nd of the month, which is not an arbitrary time. It's when the sun goes into the new sign of the zodiac. So the sun will enter into the sign Cancer on Saturday night, Sunday morning in this part of the world, and that will mark the beginning of a whole new month. So, of course, it's a special beginning of the month because on the same day there is going to be a total eclipse of the sun, which won't be visible here in South Africa, will be visible elsewhere in Africa and across southern Asia and into China. And eclipses are, in astrology, regarded as challenges to political and social events, way more than they are to people. Eclipses, you might not know, also repeat themselves every 19 years, by which we mean it occurs on the same day every 19 years. There are many eclipses a year, and each of them repeats itself every 19 years on that particular date. So when was the last time we had an eclipse on the 21st of June? 19 years ago was, of course, 21st of June 2001. And at the time, astrologers used that to predict the dramatic crisis which would ensue in America later that year, which of course was 9/11 and the attack on the Twin Towers. That would characterize the state of the 21st century that we find ourselves in. While some astrologers actually at the time did predict a terrorist attack, most just predicted political chaos, not expecting the level of violence to reach what it did. Nevertheless, we all know the outcome of that. Does that mean that 19 years later we face the same type of crisis, not an attack of the same kind, but the same kind of political crisis that threatens a country? Well, that is certainly possible. It is possible, and certainly given the build-up of circumstances in America at the moment, it's believable that the crisis there could reach greater proportions. Certainly, it makes a crisis for the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who will be facing a way more challenging election season than he could at any other time. Very much evident in the politics of the moment, but this could be a political crisis, perhaps even the political crisis of him refusing to leave the White House if he loses. That is, of course, all in November. We'll see a little bit more about that at the time. This eclipse marks the beginning of an approximately 6-month build-up of crisis energies that add to what we already have as a major world crisis and reaches some threatening proportions over this course of time. In South Africa's own horoscope, it shows as not especially threatening in and of itself, but nevertheless, obviously, as with most countries in the world, it does cast a shadow over what's happening on the global stage. Although, quite frankly, there's little more we could add as shadows go at the moment. The cycles which describe the pandemic are ongoing and are themselves ongoing through until about October, November in their strong form, with a significant peak around August. And that's also what shows in President Ramaphosa's chart. Although Ramaphosa is currently in severe crisis inside his party, the effects of that crisis are most visible in August of this year and also only in next year, when during next year his presidency itself might be threatened within that party. For now, it is what it is. And actually, South Africa's chart is looking quite good, relatively speaking, at this time. It's continuing in the same mode that it has been, and what it does look like is that perhaps in order to try and back themselves up better, or to try and cast more of a positive light, considering all the goodwill that the government has lost in the last month or two, it looks like they will be more open about some of the changes to economic policy and other policies that this crisis has generated. Apart from the issues of their confusing lockdown and all of those things which are poorly communicated. It is time they realize to communicate a little bit more of the bigger, better benefits that they might be able to extract from this time of crisis and from changed policies. So I would expect the South African government to be revealing some more of their the economic restructuring on a larger scale, not only related to the COVID crisis but generated by it, so that there can be more permanent long-term benefits. So at least reading between the lines in the news, we do have a little bit to look forward to. Otherwise, in many ways, it's more of the same, and we don't need the astrology to tell us the gradual lifting of regulations and the increasing struggle for everyone to handle them and keep up with them, or whatever the case may be. The story as we know it is continuing. Unfortunately, as we get into July, we are going to see, as the numbers increase, as we expect them to increase, as is the projection since the very beginning, but we are going to see some more economic struggle in the country that goes along with it. Nevertheless, in terms of the change policies and some of the attempts to project a positive outcome, there are certainly things for us to hold on to and to work with. If we all as South Africans are to follow the pattern of the South African chart, right now in the coming month, the challenge for us all is to restructure our goals and our deals, both for ourselves and for our society, and certainly in a much longer term than just the immediate future of this crisis, 2020 and 2021. So best way to kind of lift your head out of it is to look towards the future, not just with the hope that things will be better, but to really set yourself the challenge of, for my own life and potentially for anyone around me, how can I create better ideals that are practical, capable of becoming real, that let go of a lot of the difficulties and challenges of the past. For us to all understand, what do we do for ourselves, for our fellow human beings, and for our society, and especially in terms of things like Black Lives Matter, people who are marginalized because of their color and their culture in that way. So the virus has brought many things to a head, all at the same time, all coming from these very difficult planets, Saturn, Pluto and Mars, the warlike, fatalistic, very difficult planets that might seem like they punish us, but in the end they will break down old structures. Some of that breaking down involves a lot of burning, rioting and looting. You might think, what is all that about? Unfortunately, those are the natural manifestations of these very, very difficult planets, and we're all part of something bigger. All we can do is hope that it moves rapidly to the next phase, where we begin to legitimately restructure our society to ensure that our bigger and better ideals come into play. This is the time of bigger and better ideals for yourself and for others. So let's have a look at what kind of ideals we can set for ourselves. Aries, this is the month to restructure your financial situation and perhaps your financial goals. It does take a bit of adjusting now to adjust to what's been going on in the last couple of months, and at first it's going to be looking daunting and maybe more challenging than you would want to expect. But the good news is, as we progress through the month of Cancer, and especially once we're in the July part of it, you'll find things beginning to improve and stabilize a lot. It is important for you not to react to this by spending money unnecessarily. Once you feel a bit more confident, suddenly you can spend the money and put yourself back where you started. So build up your resources, and actually you need to make a new financial plan that includes having a stronger fallback or stronger backup system where possible. Your own sense of yourself, your sense of your own value, all of how you see yourself and hold yourself in the world has been heavily shaken on and off over these last couple of months, and now you want to make it more secure so that whatever insecurities the remainder of the year might hold, you're less affected by it. So this is the time to get your financial house in order, at least to have a plan, so that over the next few months you feel a bit stronger. Taurus, this month is all about connect and reconnect and maybe occasionally disconnect. Well, there probably have been a lot of social changes for you over this last little while, and you might have lost touch with a few important people or just allowed some relationships to slip or slide because you've been concerned with your own matters. On the other hand, you might also have found yourself kind of tied into people and relationships that no longer serve you. So a bit of a social shake-up. That can be your friend environment. It might even really just be that the problem is that you're not amongst your friends, that the people you're around right now don't really serve your purposes, and you need to get back to your people, and this is what you're sorting out for the month. Where it's possible. Where it's not possible, it's also about restructuring how you balance your own goals versus your social goals. How did you get yourself into a situation where you're surrounded by people that don't really do it for you? You need to be clearer, stricter, be willing to disconnect, let go of some people who really aren't doing it for you anymore, and get back to the ones who are your real or your chosen family, and put the right people around yourself. Some of the most unusual people will be your best inspiration right now, so choose wisely. Gemini, you're versatile and resourceful, and it looks like over the last little while you've been benefiting a lot from putting your energies into the right places and being able to build your own goals and your own resources and the things that you've really needed at this particular time. And the next month is going to be no different in that regard, and it looks like things are really working for you. So much so that there does seem to be one level that you're neglecting, and that is the things you love the most. It's great that you've been so amazingly resourceful. It's all really gone well for you. But now's the time to look at things that you love and also having some fun and pleasure. You are someone who loves to enjoy yourself, is good at partying, but might actually have found that the lockdown effect has gotten you to love home more than you're accustomed to. So where possible and where allowed, it's time to stretch your wings a little bit and allow yourself some fun and some indulgences, really to help develop your ideas and your creative side more, because over the next couple of months, all sorts of new ideas and plans you'll be putting into place that are really going to work for you. Looks like a good time for you, Gemini, as long as you balance the need for fun with all that resourcefulness that you've been up to lately. Cancerians, as your birthday month begins this weekend, as I've said before, with an eclipse, you need to get back to what's most important for Cancerians, and that's all about family. There's some adjustments you need to make, some changes that have been happening in your family situation or in your living situation in the last month that might need some adjustment. Looks like some people who were in your house are not there anymore. They might have been able to travel to other places, or some temporary situation basically has moved on, and you now need to readjust yourself to that as well. One of the great ways to do that is to focus on other members of your family who might not be the ones living in your house. So this is the time to reach out, make bigger connections, and where required, to do some of those duties that are necessary towards the older generation at this time. Like your next door neighbors, the Geminis, it's also a great time to get back to the things that you love. You've been in survival mode and protection mode and nurturing, look after everyone mode for quite a while. That is ongoing, but you might have forgotten the little bit of love myself mode. So that's what you need to be getting back into, and what better way to do that is by focusing on the things that you love. Get back into those hobbies, that sport, and a bit of playtime, and your balance will be fixed. Leo, it looks like you've been putting a lot of effort into things that aren't necessarily going as far as you'd like them to, and that is especially the warning pattern for the month of July, June, July, is to go easy on wasting those energies of yours. It looks like you're doing 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, and not really making any progress. One of the things you need to do is focus on yourself and not who you're carrying or who's benefiting from you. Focus on the people who really can directly help you, where there is some kind of exchange. So just be a bit choosier about who you're working with, who you're working for, and who's helpful to you. But in general, with your goals, you also need to restructure them as well. It does look like either you've been in fantasy land where you pursuing something that isn't real or viable anymore, or else you just might find it really hard to pin down any viable goal. You need to get back to your core creativity and ask yourself, why do I do what I do? What am I expressing about me? Whether it's creative or not is not the point. In my daily life and in my work, am I expressing me? And if the answer is not 100% so, then you know what you've got to work on for the next month. Virgo, it seems to be time to look at the people around you and ask yourself, who's with me or for me and who's against me. But keep it inside your own head. It isn't quite as literal as that. And the ones who seem to be against you aren't really against you. It's just that you've gotten yourself into situations where people could be taking advantage of you. Some Virgos, it's true, may very well have someone working against them, and it's definitely worth doing a check for everyone. Is there someone who's so busy acting in their own interests that I might become collateral damage along the way? Being choosy about people is what this month is all about for you. In your relationships, you also need to ask, is this about our mutual feelings, or do I find myself being a worker in this relationship? It could go both ways. It could be you're the problem and you're so busy focusing on doing all the practical stuff that you think you're doing in a relationship. Or it could be that you've allowed yourself to become the one who does everything in your relationship. This is primarily your love relationship that I'm talking about, but you could find this in other relationships or work relationship as well. So it's really about looking at yourself with respect to the closest people around you and ask yourself, is this a balanced relationship, and am I getting as much as I'm giving? And most importantly, for the love relationships, where's the love? Fix yourself, fix what you need. Make sure it's about feelings, not about what needs to be done. Libra, you might be feeling a little bit stuck or a little bit as if momentum has been lost. The problem isn't with you, as you know, you're still ready to roll and you're trying to do your thing, but you might be wondering, why are things not working quite the way I want, or am I doing something wrong? And if it's anything wrong that you're doing, it really just means you're looking in the wrong places for what you need, or you're looking to the wrong people for who you think is going to help you. So you need to maybe readjust the strategy of who supports me and where do I go to draw on support. Nothing wrong with what you are about or what you're doing. You just don't have the resources you need. So it can also mean you need to be more willing to look for resources or to go and get resources where you don't really get them usually. Be willing to ask someone for something who might be someone who you never ask for anything at all. So it's about being okay with changing the people around you, in the sense of being okay with reaching out towards people who've got something you need. It's not about you being selfish. It's not about you using anyone at all. It's just making sure that your social environment, the people environment around you, in terms of your goals for your life and for your work, that these people are people who have something to offer in return. Scorpio, this month is all about bringing things out into the open, bringing your plans, your projects, and your actions right up front. Even if you're someone who, as we know, is more comfortable with operating from behind the scenes or keeping your plans to yourself, this is not the time to do that. You need to be influential at this time. It's a great opportunity to get your ideas out into the wild, both to get any support or help that might be coming to you, but also to get your influence out there. This is a time when you can be influential in all the right ways, because we know you often think you're right because you often see the situation from a clearer perspective than anyone else will, but you either don't pipe up or they react badly when you do. Well, this is the time to pipe up. This is the time when your words seem to have an effect around you. It will initially at this time be difficult to fully reveal yourself, and you might even find it feels like this is not in my nature, rather let me just keep to what I'm doing my own way, like I've always done, that worked for me. Well, break out of your shell. It's time to kind of get out of that box and realize that there are lots of people around you who either think the same way or who are willing to respond to your great ideas. If this month in general is about ideals and ideas that we can build a better future with, Scorpio, this is your time to make a real contribution. Sagittarians, in many ways, your horoscope this month resembles how so many people are feeling. And that is like, I'm ready, I'm raring to go, let me go, why can't this happen right now? And as we know, while it feels like the crisis is over, and while lockdown level 3 has loosened up so many things that many people seem to think it's all over, it's very far from over. And as both the science and the astrology tells us, we're reaching towards August and September where things get really critical and we'll find ourselves in quite a challenging situation again. So Sagittarians, it feels like the time to get your plans into gear and get into action again. In its own way it is, but it's really just about the plans. Yes, this month you are finally in a situation where you can put your plans back into action, where you can pursue your goals, because you've been really stuck for the last little while. But you can actually only activate them once we get to September, October. So you're finally in a position where you can now create new strategies, create new ideas. You're doing a lot more than you did in the previous months, but action is not yet where you need to expect results. So right now, reconnect with friends, find out who the people you're going to need in the months ahead to help you get your plans together, but expect that it's still going to take a bit of time in the planning stages before you actually get there. Capricorn, as I warned you earlier on in the year, things will mostly proceed very slowly but surely for you during the course of this year. And the next month is not going to be as surely as some other months have been this year. So you need to expect things to slow down, and perhaps you might even feel a little bit stuck, a little bit as if nothing is happening. It's not backward steps or forward steps, it kind of feels like no steps. But the good news is things can still happen for you. So, my theme that seems to be for everyone this month is really about restructuring goals and ideals and finding new resources and all that kind of stuff. And for you, it's really just about sitting and planning and really being patient and expecting that things can only move on the way that you want them to some months down the line. Patience is easier said than done. As much as you are a patient sign, you're very constructive and you want things to happen now. So your big lesson, Capricorn, is that things aren't happening now. Things are happening very, very slowly. Luckily, you, like many people, have good support systems around you at the moment. It's a great time to be connecting with friends, especially the Sagittarian ones who are also busy connecting with their friends at the moment. But the process is all about patience and time, and how can I work with that without feeling stuck or getting sulky, as Capricorns can. Take it easy. Aquarians, it might be time for you to take a few steps backwards by choice. Over the last little while, you find yourself making a lot of changes and becoming involved with or dealing with lots more people than you usually do. And as much as you love people, it's probably distracted you a little bit. You might even not want to withdraw from all of that, but the stars say take a couple of steps back at this time. It's time to kind of reconnect with yourself and do a lot of the personal work that you might have been neglecting, even if you'd rather be doing something else. The chart shows you have to make some sacrifices this month. You'll also have to endure some separation or isolation, ideally by choice, but perhaps you just have to deal with the fact that many of the people that you want to expect around you at this time are just not going to be there or not able to be there. So you need to realize that the changes over the last couple of months have kind of got you slightly off track, and you need to get back onto your own track, your own personal spiritual work, your own things that you need to do to structure your own goals, and perhaps let go of all the good work, the do-good work, the fun that you've been having with other people. Time to focus back on yourself and accept that this is a month where you'll be spending most of the time on yourself and perhaps with yourself. Pisces, the last few days or weeks have felt a little vague, to say the least. You could feel as if you're drifting along, going nowhere, everything seems endless. Maybe we all feel a bit like Pisceans at the moment, but for you this could get a little overwhelming at this time. Or it could make you just kind of throw your hands into the air and lose hope that anything's going to change. And it will change. It's going to take a couple of months to change properly. But for you, I need you to look forward to the months of September, October, when you're really going to be able to put a lot of your plans into action. That means you need to have those plans. So now is the time to start cooking them up. So don't worry about other people or what's going on around you. Don't try and imagine a clear, direct path in front of you. You're only going to get there by walking one step at a time, and this is those initial steps you need to be taking. So clarify for yourself, what do I want for me and in my life and at this time? Not worrying yet about what's the end result. What is that I get to? But what steps do I need to take right now to ensure that I'm able to follow my own path? And Pisces, the real question is, with self-examination. Like others, to ask yourself at this time, who am I? What do I really want? Have I been able to be me over this last little while? Start off by getting back to the me. Who am I and what do I want? That'll help you set what those goals are and get ready for, as the months ahead, they gradually unfold for you. So, as ever, we might be feeling very stuck about what we can do in the world, but in the end, the most important work is always on ourselves. I'll see you again next week.